morning, everybody. I'm going to give everybody a update on all the landscaping that I did when we first moved in here, and sort of talk through a topic that is on my mind. And these are the peonies that I replanted, or I guess rehomed. And this was like one little sprig. And now it's just this it loves it in this spot next to my water fountain. And I think these are just going to be really a sight. And this is all strawberries mostly. And there's some other invasive flower that comes in here, but I usually end up pulling most of it because it's so thick in there. I've not done any of my hanging baskets. Those are the crows you're hearing. And the hummingbirds are super active this morning. This is all strawberries in here, and the elephant ears are coming up finally. My little ducks that I bought in Louisiana. And I'm probably going to take out this grass. It actually develops into long, really pretty flowy grass, is the reason I put it in here. But I can see from just it raining that it's mostly weeds instead of grass, so I'll probably need to pull those out. This is blueberries, strawberries. These are, I forget the name of those actually. Blueberries, and then this is some more of the peony that I had left, and then I have one more sprig planted down at the other end over there, and that's the hydrangea that I planted. It's going to be like a peppermint hydrangea. Should be pink and white, and this will all fill in really well. Just it's going to take years to develop, so really, really pretty. Some of the blooms have happened. We've just got a torrential rain here the last month, and everything is soggy. And there's more rain coming tonight. These are calla lilies coming up, and they're a burgundy, purplish. And I don't know the name of this right here, but I've got plenty of it. It ends up looking like that. This is some more of the grass that I'll probably end up pulling. And this is a Meyer lemon tree that seems to be doing okay. I didn't know if it would last through the winter. And there is a hummingbird in the peach tree, which we'll get to in a second. Maybe they built a nest over there. And these are cannas. They're orange cannas. And that's just up there for a windbreak. It's really not for any other purpose. And that's covered once the cannas take off. That is really covered. So, and this is the peonies as well. And this more is blueberries. You can see the blueberries on them. This really likes this area, this space. I need to get in here and weed more. This is the problem I have the most over in this area is the weeds. And I'm going to put some stuff down to try to kill those off, but it is a real bear to try to keep this area without any weeds. I have more calla lilies coming up here. These are lilies right here. I hear the roosters. And this is ferns and lilies. Once the lilies die off, the ferns will fill in that space. And very, very... it's going to fill up really nice. Here's another bunch of grass that I probably need to go ahead and dig up. And I like the long flowy grass. And I put this in here because I didn't have the money to really go and buy what I wanted. And I really thought that they love to stay in clumps. And this would just be a great little fill-in. So, and this is our peach tree that Bill's mother sent us as a little tiny sapling that's been growing here. And as you can see, hopefully you can see, I'll get close enough to it. There is lots of peaches all over it. And this thing will be full of peaches this year. I don't know if they're going to be edible, but they're here. The freeze didn't hurt it. We had a late freeze and it did not hurt it at all. I've got strawberries all growing in here. I'm hoping I don't run into a snake, so I'm trying to be cautious. This is a lavender bucket, and it may or may not come back this year. I tend to have to replant lavender like every 3 or 4 years. This is a big bucket of strawberries, and they've overtaken the ground underneath this. So when these will really die off, I've got another one over there. These will die off after spring. They don't last through the summer, and then this will just be all big strawberry patch right here. And more of this tree. You can just see the peaches all over it. It's just going to really thrive here for years to come. And we have a cherry tree right there, and we have peach trees planted all throughout the yard, but a lot of them haven't really grown as much as this one. So, and my grass along the driveway is a little droopy because of all the rain, but it should bounce back as well. This is a purple crepe myrtle that we cut back this year. The first year we've cut it back, and to kind of give it a rework. And I need to come in here and dig out all of this and rework the beds as well. And Bill purchased this porch swing for me for my birthday. And this is where I kind of sit because the sun sets right over there. And you have the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen in your life facing that way. It's unbelievable. It's cloudy today because we're going to be getting a whole bunch more rain, even though we're already pretty saturated. So we'll go over and look at the garden real quick. We've got some apple trees doing pretty well right here. And strawberries is jamming. They just need a lot of sun. We have peppers and kale over here, and tomatoes and celery over here, and they're just really saturated. Some of the chickens. We need to really get in there and mow the chicken yard. It's just been so wet, we can't. You just kind of bog down. I'll go over to the pond here in a second and show you how full it is. I think it's exceeded its banks as well. And then we have 2 more beds to plant in. I think Bill's going to take up that tarp, and then that's one of our pigs, Wilma. We have this shoot up with one of our apple trees, but I know it's not an apple tree, so I don't really know what that is. But it's growing like crazy. This is another apple tree. And then over there we have 3 or 4 peach trees in that corner, which will thrive. This is all just greening up really well. And we have mowed several times, but it's just so wet right now. This is Jojo. He's not super friendly. He's a silver-laced Wyandotte. And I guess he's fighting this morning with Junior. It's a pecking order. But we don't really want fights. No fighting. No, Junior. No, Papa. No, Papa. No, Papa. And the white rooster over here. If you can see him. That's Popcorn. I call him Popcorn because when you try to grab him, he jumps really high. And they're constantly trying to fight for who's boss, but they generally get along. They don't beat up on each other too bad. They each hold their own. I have a red rooster in another yard that they all whipped up on pretty good, and so I separated him. He's the oldest rooster. And anyway, let's go check out the pond. It's really full. Be nice. That's right. You be nice. Be nice. You hear me, Jojo? Yes. So it's preening and bathing time for the ducks. We have a duck out. I'm back in my shop. I'm still reorganizing and getting everything ready for a relaunch of my business. And, well, really not a relaunch, but more of a reorganization and getting everything organized better and boxing up and getting rid of things that I really probably will never work on. So, but I wanted to sit and talk today. I gave you guys an update of the property. I was unable to go to work today. You saw the little short clip of the water over the creek because I was unable to actually go into the office because some of you may or may not know I took on an additional job because my husband lost his job a year ago. And I've been working as a graphic designer for a company that I have to drive an hour and a half away, one way to get to. And as we approach Mother's Day, I know I looked back at the video that I did a year ago and I was super emotional about everything happening with COVID or the pandemic, and what it was going to mean to have another Mother's Day alone. And it's not really gotten any better, to be honest. I set out on this venture with my husband wanting to try and not only see how my grandmother lived, but I wanted to see if I could, live in a sustainable way, the way maybe they did a way back, and see how well I could do at it. I considered my grandmother to be such a strong woman and such a strong force. She owned restaurants, and she was a really hard worker, and I really wanted to come out here and see really if I could do that. Could I really, do what she did? And my husband had the same aspirations of wanting to live out in a rural area with little or no neighbors. But as you do that, that romance of that idea and that excitement of that idea sometimes blinds you to, at least it did for me, to the reality of the importance of family and friendships and relationships you had already established, before you left and went off and homesteaded. And I know there's a ton of people that are moving in all directions to try to get property to go off and live their life, and they do, and some do very well. I don't know if what we see on YouTube is necessarily 100% true, because a lot of what we see, they make it look magical and, emotional free. There aren't really days where they're videoing where they're really hurting and missing those people that they left maybe back closer into town or the city. I was raised in the city, but I frequently visited the country, and I did chores in the country for my grandmother. When my parents would take us, it was always, there wasn't any television it was always chores and eating and visiting and chores and eating and visiting. So I knew what this life, as far as labor, was going to take. I didn't know if I was going to have the energy for it or not, but I would have never known that unless I tried it. And, you know, being over 50 and making this move was something that was truly exciting, and it was going to be a healthier situation for my husband, and which all those things were super important. But 4 years after living out here, it's or in the Ozarks is where we're located, it's an extremely lonely environment. And yes, we have each other, but you know, I went from having my kids at my house every weekend to virtually never seeing them. And I see them on video because we have video calls, and I get to talk to them, and I have made efforts every year to go back home and see them. But I don't think I understood or knew the grasp of what I'm really missing. And I think the pandemic has really brought all those things to my mind of how important truly family and family relationships and friendships that you've had for long periods of time are so important. And to chalk those aside to do something independently or selfishly for yourself isn't necessarily bad for everybody, but I'm starting to realize that, you know, this may or may not be for me. And I love it out here. There's days that, you know, we close the gates and we can shut off the world, and, you know, we can isolate ourselves and, you know, work on our relationship and do a lot of things. And then the effort and the energy that come into the play of what happens out here with livestock living and dying, and no matter how much what I would consider luxury care you give your animals, there's things that can, you know, come on them that make them either ill or not feeling good or whatever. And, you know, my husband and I are not vets, and there's no local vet around here that's going to come up this far off the beaten path to look at your animals. And so you're just dealt, you know, the hand you're dealt is basically you have to fend for yourself, do a lot of research, figure it out on your own, and all that stuff is exciting. But I'm not necessarily wanting to move back into the heavy populated city, but I want to be within an hour or 2 hours from my family and friends. I want to be able to go have dinner, go have lunch. I want to hold on to those relationships, because at the end of the day or at the end of your life, those are the only things that matter. And when you go off and sit on your own and decide that you want this experience in your life, and you get the blessing from everybody to go do it, it doesn't come with a live experience of being and feeling very, very lonely. And I made this channel to honor my grandmother with all of her wonderful recipes and all of the things that she instilled in me. And this obviously is one of them. It's a video on really what's important. You know, is homesteading really for me? I'm doubting it more and more every day, and only because I feel like I've sacrificed way more than I thought I was willing to do, because I thought I would have the energy and the momentum and the freedom to be able to go and enrich those relationships. Bill hasn't had a job for the last year and going on a year and a half. And I've had to go back to work and drive an hour and a half one way. So that's 3 hours a day that I'm on the road. And I'm locked down into a company situation where you have to have a year of service to be able to get a day of vacation. which virtually means I can't go anywhere. I can't see or do anything. Even on a weekend, you can't make a dash for 14 hours to go see family. And so I think the pandemic and our experience here, I don't know when and if it will change, but more and more of my time is being spent on not things that are important to me, on things that I'm having to do because they have importance, if that makes any sense. So I love having this channel. I like the interaction I get with everybody. I like the private notes, and I like I'm really encouraged by the people who send me notes and, tell me to just keep going. I don't show a lot of the farm on my channel, but it's not without notice because my husband has a channel and I really just sort of threw that over to him to do. And he physically is not getting better because this property takes a lot of physical energy to run and to run it well. So, I don't know what the future holds, but I wanted to, share that, we're going through whatever it is we're going through right now, and we're not sure what we're going to do, if we're going to stay, if we're going to go. But obviously I'm not going to be ending my channel. It just, you're going to get a different vantage point. And I want to be in a position where I can, have more flexibility to nurture those relationships that I so desperately find important. So I hope you enjoyed the tour of all of the maturity that's happened in the yard and on our homestead, all of the landscaping that I did, and got to see some of the chickens and the animals. And I just wanted to leave this here today for, just thoughts. I'm wondering how the pandemic and wondering how the life situation, is happening for those who live far away from their family and who have decided to go out and homestead and be away from people that they normally were around. I know that people do it. I don't see a lot of videos out about that, but for me, I want my future to entail all the people that I really thrive off of and who thrive off of me. And those are the things that I would enjoy doing. And so that is, the goal. Our parents, my dad has already passed away, but my mother, Bill's mom and dad are getting older, and they're going to require care. And us running back and forth 14 hours and trying to maintain a job and this property is going to be taxing. And all those things I really don't think we thought about in depth, or we thought it was so far in the future that we would have plenty of time. So anyway, I'd love to hear your feedback on how your life has changed during this really trying times. And, has the whole concept of COVID brought you closer to your family, or do you find you still would just rather, go off and do your own deal if you had the chance, or if that's what you're planning? I would challenge anyone that's thinking about this to really think hard about being away and the notion that somebody would miss you as much as you miss them to come see you, and to nurture those relationships. So anyway, I hope all of my subscribers who are mothers have a wonderful Mother's Day, and I wish you the very best for Mother's Day. And I'm hoping my next Mother's Day is going to look very different than the ones that I have had in the last 4 years. I'm very hopeful, and I'm going to be trying to figure that out. But I'll be obviously taking you guys on for the ride, and we will see what happens. Everybody have a blessed day, and don't forget, find somebody to bless.